Hi, everybody. Matt Carpenter, College Aid Pro. What I want to spend a few minutes talking about today is divorced and or separated families, right? And this is what already is a confusing process. This adds another layer of complexity to it. So two household families. Now, the first thing to note here is that colleges, they don't see a difference between a divorced or a separated family. So it really doesn't matter if you were informally divorced or informally separated very recently, or you got divorced officially 10 years ago. There's really not a distinction there. The only distinction they're looking for is, are you separated? And then also oftentimes, do you file tax returns separately? Usually if you check those two boxes, you go into this two household family. Now, how does it work? We're in a two household family. How does it work? Now, the shortest answer to that question is, it depends on the college. And this is something that we say every day on a regular basis because it's the truth. We have to look at these colleges as kind of their own businesses, and every business operates a little bit differently. So as our list of colleges is coming to fruition, we want to reach out specifically to the schools that we're focused on and say, hey, here's our situation. What do we need to know? What are the requirements? Now, I need to talk about how this works now versus how it's going to work starting in the 2024-25 school year. For right now, there's basically two different ways that colleges deal with two household families, okay? Now, colleges that use what's called the federal methodology, a little bit of a confusing term there, but a good way to know what schools fit into that bucket is that they only require the FAFSA. The only financial aid application that is required to apply for aid at that school is the FAFSA. If that is the case, the only parents information that goes on the FAFSA is that of the custodial household, okay? So for example, if the student lives with mom, only mom's information goes on to the FAFSA, right? The other biological parent, even if they're living in the same apartment complex, but it's a different address, but that other biological parent, they're not included on the FAFSA. They don't complete a FAFSA. Only one parent completes a FAFSA, or one household, I should say, completes a FAFSA, and that is the custodial household, okay? Now, custodial household is important there because if that parent is remarried, so there's a step parent now in the situation, then it is their combined information. So it is, in this hypothetical, it is mom's information, and that new spouse, their combined information goes on to the FAFSA, and that will be used, okay, both of their income and assets to assess their financial aid eligibility. So that's how it works at schools that use the federal methodology that only require the FAFSA. We're only looking at the custodial parent or parents if that parent has been remarried, as if this other biological parent doesn't exist. That's not how it works. Schools that require the CS profile, okay, are schools that use something called the institutional methodology. And another way of looking at this is to say, okay, a percentage of private colleges, and a very small percent, I shouldn't even say that, there's only a few public universities that use this institutional methodology, but kind of the quickest cheat code to figure out colleges that are going to require the information from both the custodial and non-custodial household is to find out which ones require the CS profile. So this is another financial aid application that's required in addition to the FAFSA, okay? So for those that do, for those colleges that require the CS profile, most of them need the custodial household to complete that CSS profile along with the FAFSA. And then they want the non-custodial household to also complete a CS profile, a separate application. You won't see one another's information. It's not a shared application, but the custodial and non-custodial household needs to complete that CSS profile. That's at most of the schools, okay, that require the CSS profile. There are exceptions, right? There are some schools that they require the CSS profile, but they still don't need non-custodial parents' information. And then again, there's a very small percentage of schools that they don't have the CS profile or they don't require it, but they need both households' information. Princeton would be an example there. It's where I get back to that point of where I started. You have to be focused on the school or the schools that you're thinking about attending or you are applying to. Let me throw a monkey wrench in this thing. Starting with the class of 2024-25 school year, instead of the custodial parent, okay, or parents completing the FAFSA and being the ones that are also the primary ones that complete the CSS profile. Now the rule states that it is the parent that provides the most financial support. So it doesn't matter, okay, starting in this 2024-25 school year, it doesn't matter where the student lives. The Department of Education wants the parent that provides the most financial support to complete the confusing. I think it is, right? We're taking an already complex and tricky situation, and I think adding another layer of complexity, because I think there's a more of a gray area there, because one parent might pay child support, but this parent might pay for the mortgage and the expenses and all the costs associated with having a teenager live under your roof. So I think it's going to get tricky. I hope we can continue to be a resource for you. But right now, it's the custodial parent or parents that complete the FAFSA and the CSS profile. Moving forward, it's going to be the parent that provides the most financial support. So I hope I provided clarity as opposed to causing more confusion. If you are more confused, you always know where to find us as a resource.